Hey everybody, hope you all are doing well this afternoon. Let's see what we're working with today. So just by a show of hands, how many of you all are seniors? All right, how about that? Yeah, I'm a senior myself, and I've been getting this question a lot lately. Maybe some of you all have too. People ask me, what are you doing next year? And it's funny, I feel like I get this question at all hours of the day, and sometimes I have an answer, and other times I'm in the bathroom, and I'm like, geez man, just give me a minute. But I get it. For 4 years, we've been trying to balance studying with the organizations we're involved with, while trying to leave enough time out just to maintain some sanity. And I think people want to know what the point of it all is. And for those of us in STEM, it feels like there's really only 3 answers to the question, what are you doing next year? If you're not going to grad school or med school, then you're probably working for some company in the for-profit sector, which I think is ironic because I don't think that many of us who first became interested in STEM anticipated our educational journey eventually being split into just a few ways. I think many of us first became interested because we thought that STEM was an opportunity to apply our interest in science and math and engineering to, solve issues in society in productive and creative ways. To be society's problem solvers, if you will. But I think the hardest part about being a problem solver is figuring out which problems to solve. Because the world has plenty. You turn on the news every day and there's no shortage of issues to fix. But which ones do we devote our time to? Now, many of us in STEM, after graduation, will go into a for-profit sector company and will get hired by a company to work a 9 to 5 and spend our time developing products or services that are sold at whatever price people are willing to pay. But if tackling social problems are what appeals to you, if fixing issues like poverty and education in the world are what matter, then I think you'll be hard-pressed to find a company that enables you to pursue that passion. And if instead you try and look towards a charity to pursue that interest, then I think you'll notice quickly that your contributions are limited by whatever people are able or willing to donate. I think the difficult part about charities is that whatever people in the developing world are able to donate becomes what people in developing countries are limited to receive. So I think the answer to creatively addressing social problems isn't in the charitable or the for-profit sectors, but rather a portion of the nonprofit sector called social entrepreneurship. And tonight I'd like to talk to you all about an experience I had last year, a sneak peek into social entrepreneurship, and a little bit into something that I call the fourth option, the fourth answer to the question, what are you doing next year? Last year, a group of friends and I noticed an ad in the Daily for a social entrepreneurship competition called the Hope Prize. And the founders of the Hope Prize promised $1 million to any group that could find a way to double the income of 10 million people living in poverty in the world's most crowded urban spaces. And it sounded a little bit more interesting than the homework we were doing that day, so we decided to enter the competition. And we stumbled upon this fact that some people in developing countries spend upwards of 7 hours every day simply walking in search of food or water or employment, and that fact really stuck with us. We felt like something as simple as a bicycle could really go a long way for these people. But the challenge was creating a bike that was cheap enough that even the poorest of people could afford it, but not so cheap that we couldn't afford to create the bikes in the first place. And eventually we came upon this solution for a rent-to-own service, a way to buy bikes from local vendors, rent them to people for a nickel a day, and after they paid enough nickels, the bikes would be theirs to keep. And we modeled this in another country, and we found that the most beautiful part about the whole thing is that it had no net profit. The entire thing could work without anyone worrying about the shareholders. I think too often we don't think about ways we can more freely or creatively address some of the world's social problems. I think most of us have heard the adage, give someone a fish and you can feed them for a day. Teach someone to fish and you can feed them for a lifetime. But we aren't always cognizant of the way that that saying can be applied more broadly. I think too often those of us in STEM think that the way we can solve the world's social problems are by making it in the for-profit sector, and then by donating some amount of our disposable income to whichever charities catch our eye. But we don't always think about things like social entrepreneurship. We create this bubble for ourselves, this illusion that the only way to do it is by donating whatever we might have left over. But if any of you are interested in breaking out of the bubble, in tackling a social problem, in pursuing an opportunity to fix an issue like poverty or education, then I only have one question for you. What will you do next year? Thank you.